Hey y'all, new day, new verse as we continue on into chapter 17. Today we are doing verses 14 through 20. Here we go. At the foot of the mountain, a large crowd was waiting for them. A man came and knelt before Jesus and said, "Lord, have mercy on my son. He has seizures and suffers terribly. He often falls into the fire or into the water. So I brought him to your disciples, but they couldn't heal him." Jesus said, "You faithless and corrupt people. How long must I be with you? How long must I put up with you? Bring the boy here to me." Then Jesus rebuked the demon in the boy, and it left him. From that moment, the boy was well. Afterward, the disciples asked Jesus privately, "Why couldn't we cast out the demon?" "You don't have enough faith," Jesus told them. "I tell you the truth, if you had the faith even as small as a mustard seed, you could say to this mountain, 'Move from here to there,' and it would move. Nothing would be impossible." Now, I really wanted to dig into a few places here because it's a lot to unpack, and it can be a place of ouch, but it can also be a place of peace. Resolute peace in many ways. Because they're coming down the mountain from this amazing transfiguration moment where Peter, James, and John have just been flabbergasted, dropped to the floor, seen Jesus, seen him transformed, seen Elijah, seen Moses, or Elisha and Moses, and they come, they come down, Eliyahu. It really is easier to do with the Hebrew sometimes. But they come down to the mountain, and here they are, large crowd trying to have this boy healed who's suffering from seizures. Falling into water, falling into fire, campfires, rivers, things like that. Constantly being put into a place where his life is threatened. And the disciples are trying to cast him out, this demon out, and nothing happens. Mark has this same passage here from Peter's perspective of where the Father is saying, "I believe, Lord, help me with my unbelief." And, it's curious here that, aside from Jesus calling them out, because, "You faithless and corrupt people, how long must I be with you? How long must I put up with you?" That's a little rough to hear, especially if you're disciples. In the same moment, and Mark says it's directed to the disciples. In the same moment, it is a question of anguish on his part, if you think about it. Because he knows how much time he actually has. Multiple times now, he's been telling his disciples that he's going to be betrayed. He knows he's going to die. And so he knows he's very close to this moment where he is going to be crucified. And his disciples, who have seen him feed thousands twice to pick up loaves, just like he called out earlier in there, where he's saying, "You've seen all of these things. Why are you not believing?" Because that's got to be a serious bit of anguish for Jesus that he's going through, is saying, "I'm not going to be here forever, at least not like this, so please, please, please pay attention." And, after calling them out, he rebukes the demon, saves the boy. Not just for a little bit, it's just from that point forward, boy's well, boy's safe, boy's taken care of. Never having to fear from this event either. Again, no longer dealing with these seizure convulsion Mormons or the possession of it, of, probably actively aiming to go into it. These people of the ancient world, they weren't stupid. They understood medicine, not to the same extent we do. They just understood spirituality a lot better than we do. Because this demon is clearly causing this boy grief, his family grief, to the point where the Father's saying, "Please just help." In Mark's, "I believe, help me with my unbelief." That level of desperation that says, "I don't know what else to do, but help. I know you can. Help." And so when he's talking to the disciples and saying, "You're faithless and corrupt people," and they ask him afterward privately, "Why couldn't we cast it out?" Yeah, you don't have enough faith. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute. I mean, these are the disciples. They're walking around with you. If they don't have enough faith, the rest of us are screwed. And Jesus is saying, no, you misunderstand. Because, in part, they're operating under their own power, perhaps. Something we often pretend to do. Well, I'm going to make it of my own power. I'm going to pull myself through it. I'm going to pull myself up by my bootstraps. It doesn't work. Jesus is the one who gets us through. Well, God's the one who gets us through. Jesus, right there. That welcome invitation, sending the Holy Spirit to be the companion who gets us through. Don't you love God? There's so much richness of how much love is offered and poured out. And even the idea right there of how he answers itself is a beautiful, beautiful smile, nod. N-O-D, nod. Because this mustard seed faith, well, he's already talked about a mustard seed before. He talked about the fact that it grows up into a very, very big tree. It's like, well, so wait, which is it? Do I have to have mustard tree faith or mustard seed faith? And she's saying, yes, mustard seed faith. Because that kind of faith will see it happen. Because it all starts with this tiny, tiny little drop. This question of, if God has been faithful before, then won't he be to come? These small little drops that take him at his word. Humans may be inconsistent, humans may lie and be rather poor at keeping their own word, but God is not. He is true to his character, true to his name's sake, for his name's sake. Not because we deserve it, but because it is the very nature of who he is. A being of other-centric love. God is love. As we say, do we believe? Because it is that idea. We say it, do we believe it? Because God says to his disciples, you can cast out these spirits. I can? Yeah, you can cast out these spirits. So I can cast out these spirits. Yep. And click it together. If God said I can, then I can. Peter, walking on the water, in the last chapter, called to me, or was it last chapter? I love how they come together, don't you? 14, sorry. Chapter 14, where Jesus is walking on the water. Peter calls out to him, if it's you, Lord, call out to me. And Jesus said, yes, come. So Peter says, Jesus says, I can walk on the water. And this is Peter's perspective, right? Because we're often in those Peter perspective of like, okay, well, I'm at point A, I'm in the boat, and you're point B way out there on the water. Okay, you tell me how to get there. And Jesus says, yes, come out on the water. And so Peter steps out, and he starts walking. How'd you walk on the water? Because Jesus said I could. All authority, all power belongs to him. He eventually gives it, which we'll see as we go in. But all authority belongs to him. So when he says, yes, come out on the water, we, like Peter, out of the boat. And we are able to walk forward. Peter, much like the disciples here in this moment, and much like we all too do, had a moment of, well, I mean, but it's big and it's scary, and, this wave, it's big and it's scary, and this demon, it's big and it's scary. But God's bigger. But my God is bigger. That's the kind of mentality here. There's a beautiful song, I think it's Sanctus Real, faith like Daniel in the lion's den, hope like Moses in the wilderness, a heart like David. What if it was faith like David? Because David, just as he goes before Goliath, saying to Saul, yeah, my God's protected me from the lion, my God's protected me from the bear, and he goes and does it. In fact, evenly saying this for uncircumcised Philistine is no match. Because he knows where his help comes from. The Lord. So that kind of faith there, that standing came with a faith that Jesus invites us to, is hoping we will get to, which comes from a place of constant relationship. Well, how do you know your health comes from the Lord? Because I've seen it. That's why I say thank you to him. Because I've seen it. That's why I say thank you to him. And I've seen it. Because I say thank you to him. Because I will see it, I say thank you to him. Because it's all knowing that he is true to his character. Walking in him so that he will shape ours. Because it is walking away from the world's way of doing it and walking into his way of doing it. Trusting the fact that he knows what he's doing because he's God. So when he says, this mountain will fall. Yes, then it will. And just he says there. You could say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it would. Nothing would be impossible. Jesus is not one to stutter, folks. It's not in his nature. And what I mean by that is he doesn't hold back. When he says nothing is impossible, it means nothing is impossible. And I recognize verse 21 is in some manuscripts. I may do that as a separate video tomorrow, to be perfectly honest, and dive into the ideas of fasting. Actually, yeah, I'm going to be doing tomorrow a video on fasting on that one. I got told I'm going to, so I'm going to. At this moment here, when you have a place of faith that says, God said I can, so I can, then yeah, the mountain will move. Not just metaphorical ones, but literal ones. It's just a matter of God saying, yes, you can tell that mountain to move, when it becomes to literal mountains. That's the beauty of it, isn't it? That when we trust that all authority and all power belong to God, then we know that, well, all power and authority belong to God. Why would the being who created reality not have the ability to override our perception of it? Or more than that, what we say the laws of it are. That's hubris. But God saying, you can do this. God saying, I have this for you to do. Go do it. You'll get there. God will make a way. Why? Because he said you're supposed to go there. It's the same kind of logic that Abraham was rocking and in the middle of. Faith in the same place with Isaac. Going and sacrificing in the sacrifice of Isaac moment. He's going up on the mountain with Isaac. Well, where's the lamb? God will provide one. Well, how do you know? God will provide one. Well, God said that all of his blessings will come through Isaac. So, if God says all the blessings are coming through Isaac, and then he says sacrifice Isaac, well, he's not going to go back on his word. He's not one to stutter. And impossible is not a thing for God. So then, somehow, a way will be made. That's the logic algorithm here. That's it. God has been consistent. He is consistent. He will be consistent. It's all walking in that logic, that faith, that trust. It's not blind faith in any way, shape, or form. It's knowing that God is true to his character. So even if I don't see what is to come, I know he will make a way if he said to do. All of it in intimate relationship. Not blind guesswork, but constant conversation. Prayer. That is what prayer is. It is that constant invitation, that constant place of communication. Which is itself an act of faith, because Paul happily points out, yeah, if you're praying to a God you can't see, you're at least having enough faith to believe that he's listening and that he's there. More than that, it's even the belief that he wants to listen. That's a huge leap of faith for some people. And when they experience it, that God, oh yeah, God's there. Yeah, he listens. Well, more than that, he knows the desires of my heart. He knows the anguishes of my heart. spoken or unspoken. Oh yeah, he knows my every need and he sees to them. It's digging into that deeper place where you see him consistent to his character. So more and more you can trust. So the faith of a mustard seed becomes a mustard tree. Because God works on what is sown. And so yes, that mustard seed faith can say to a mountain, that way. And it's gone. Because God is greater. And when we trust that he says, yeah, nothing is impossible. Abraham, right there, God will make a way. I don't know how, he'll make a way. He'll provide a goat. He'll bring back the dead to life. I got no clue, kiddo. I just know God will keep his promise. So if he says do this, I will. And Abraham goes up with Isaac, gets almost to that place of agony to think to do it, and in trust, knowing that God will make a way. That beautiful dichotomy of being able to hold sorrow and joy, faith and struggle, hope, even in the dark. So just before Abraham plunges in, angel stops him. Don't do it. There's the goat. All taken care of. You've proved your faith. It's like, well, is it a test? Life is a test. Every decision you make is a test. Is a test of character. Is a test of nature. I'm not saying that nature is testing you. I'm saying the very nature of who we are is tested in those moments. Are you going to do the right thing or the wrong thing? Are you going to say my nature is kingdom nature? Or are you going to fall to the adage of the scorpion and the frog? Is the frog sitting at the edge of the bank, scorpion saying, hey, will you give me a list across? Frog's like, no, you'll sting me and we'll both drown. Scorpion says, oh, I wouldn't do that. And you're like you said, we'll both drown. Frog says, whatever. Scorpion gets on, made it halfway across. Scorpion stings the frog, both drown. As they're drowning, frog asks, why'd you do that? Scorpion says, it's in my nature. It's a wonderful cop-out. Bit of a truism when you use it as one, though. Because if that is your nature, cool. But are we going to be of kingdom nature or earthly one? Are we going to be humane beings or creatures of the world? Because it doesn't take half a minute on the internet in any comment section, social media environment at all, where comments can be had really, to see that there's a bit of a brutality there. A cruelty there. We don't have to live and play by those standards. We can be of a different nature, God nature, as we let him shape our character into godly character. So that when God says, you can do this, you will make it because I've told you to go there, and we walk humbly with our God, we will make it. Faith like that, mustard seed faith, that says God is greater, that says he is consistent to his character. So when Jesus said you can cast out these demons earlier, he meant it. Just as we can now. Walking on water, walking on air, these are not outside the realm of possibility. Beauty is when we're walking in true relationship. That's what we're aiming for. Not the magic tricks. But the deep miracles of God shaping us into a new creation. Something that only comes from faith. From an active relationship. Knowing that he is God. And we are not. And the trust that when we lean into him, he'll see to it. That is the very nature of his name. Jireh. I will see you guys tomorrow for our discussion on chapter 17, verse 21 with fasting and prayer. I can't wait. I'll see you guys then. May his favor be upon you. Know that you are loved. And know that if he said, he'll do it. He is Waymaker after all. and miracle worker. I'll see you then, 'cause that's just Nisi. Bye.